Hello guys, and welcome to a new Wargame video today by me, Vulcan and Val.
Hello guys.
Today we have the first of a best of three between ANZ and Crna Buksna. And in this series, basically we'll see who moves on in the winners bracket of the Reddit tournament. And that is really something that I'm looking forward to, especially with these two teams. So let's have a look at what sides are on. In this game, on the blue side, we have ANZ with Cheer Up, Nandemonai and Faust. And over on the red side, we have Crna Buksna with Razman, Firestarter and Dirty D. So what are your thoughts to begin with, Val?
Well, I think my personal opinion, I think these are the two best teams in the tournament at the moment. Probably closely contested with Patton's team. So this should be a very interesting game. I'm expecting this to go to 3 games, honestly. This is a best of 3. And even though ANZ has, I think they've only lost 1 game in the group stages, I think if there is anyone who can beat them, it's definitely Crna Buksna.
Yeah, I just think this is going to be such a clash of the titans, and so early on in the tournament, really. And I just love the fact that it's going to be best of 3. So our first map here today is Tough Jungle, and it's quite a big map. It's technically a 3v3 map, so it works out quite well because we are actually going to be playing 3v3 on the map. We've got Alpha and Charlie and on the top side, which generally get taken over by the red side, and on the bottom side we've got Juliet and Foxtrot, which is the same kind of thing, except from it seems that Golf goes over to the blue side as well, so I'm not quite sure how the points work. I would say on this map red side has an advantage. What do you think?
I think it's relatively even. I think there is a slight tilt towards the red side, in my opinion, because I think the Delta spawn is much more valuable than the one over in Hotel. Just because you have all this ground to play with. You can spawn out and hit directly into to Foxtrot or India, whereas the Hotel spawn, like, it can be very difficult to get through to Charlie, and it takes quite a while to reinforce, the more southern sectors. So I'd give a slight edge to red side, but I don't think it'll be that big a deal in this game. I think it'll come down to how well these teams play.
Yeah, I don't think the map balancing will really affect the game too much, but it's just an interesting thought. What sort of decks are we looking at today?
So let's go start on the blue side with ANZ. We have Nandemonai with a very, very interesting Blue Dragons deck. He's used that before, I believe, to very good effect in one of the previous games we casted with ANZ. Cheer Up is using what I believe to be a US deck. Again, is just a very, very strong deck at the moment. And Faust is going for an all-NATO deck, every NATO country. So he has a lot to bring to the table, but he's also slightly limited because, while he can bring all the units, he can't bring any of the prototype ones, so we'll have to see how he makes use of that. So we'll go to the red side now, to our Crna Buksna. So we'll take a look at first at Razman, who is going for a Scandinavian deck, which I think is really strong at the moment, and it's really fun to play. It's one of my favourite ones. Firestarter has gone for a Eurocore deck, which is, it's always been a very solid choice, I think, from the start of Red Dragon. And then Dirty D, he's gone for, just like Faust on the other side, he's gone for a complete NATO deck. So very interesting to see that sort of mirror going on.
Yeah, that's I think a really nice selection of decks we've got going on today. I think I do agree with you that Scandinavian's very strong. Especially Blue v Blue, because you don't have to worry so much about the Lijuan and the Spetsnaz, and Scandinavia really struggles against napalm infantry. So when you don't have to deal with that, Scandinavia is definitely a good choice. For the Eurocore decks, that's always been solid, of course, but I'm really glad that somebody's brought along a Blue Dragon deck. I'm a massive fan of this, and I love the way that the Hachi Nanashikis are coming out from Nandemonai. I think that's a very good choice.
Although the spam is strong in this one, those Hachi Nanashikis are super good, very cheap, nice, very fast, kind of light APCs, and they'll really, really put a hurt on your own motorized units if you're not careful. So a really nice unit to send out.
Yeah, and looking at this map, I think, what do you think they're really going to do? Like, I personally think, obviously the 2 points are going to be captured. Juliet and India for blue side, Charlie and Alpha for red side, and then the contested sector is supposed to be Echo. But normally the contesting happens between like a hotel and golf from red to blue, and Delta to Foxtrot. Like Foxtrot, you push from that on blue side into Delta to try and stop that reinforcement point, but it's always really hard. So what are you expecting to actually see on the map?
Well, it's like you were saying, it's kind of an interesting question of priorities, because do you try and stop the opponent's spawn in Hotel or Delta? Because that's always going to be really difficult, because the enemy can always spawn units in right next to where the fighting is. Or do you just try to push your own side, so the red team tries to push into Foxtrot and kind of doesn't worry about Hotel as much? So we'll have to see. I think personally, what I think will happen it'll be the red team trying to push to capture Hotel and the blue team trying to push to capture Delta, or at the very least, kind of interrupt those sectors. So yeah, we'll have to find out.
Generally, you don't really see much going on at Echo, although it might be interesting to see if any like heavy tanks come into play. But because of the amount of heavy air we've seen throughout the game and the tournament, it's unlikely that we'll see tanks go into the middle, because they'll get taken out by those ASM planes.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really that much cover. It's enough cover to put a few very well placed ATGM squads and some infantry in the towns. But when you're dealing with units that are 180 points, you really don't want to leave them out in that sort of very sparse cover. So we'll have to see. They might do that if they're sharp enough at killing the enemy recon. I mean, they can stay there as long as they want, really. But we'll have to find out.
Well, that was quite a long deployment phase. Both teams obviously taking care as to what they are going to do in the game. We can see Firestarter pushing out of spawn with a couple of Cassiopeias and a couple of Pumas with recon infantry. But over on the other side, we see Cheer Up with a couple of MH60L DAPs. So if the Firestarter isn't too careful, those DAPs could do a serious amount of damage with those Stinger missiles.
They really can. They're really nice, cost-effective anti-heli units, although they do seem to be splitting up quite a bit, so we'll have to see, because one DAP on its own will eventually get killed by all those Pumas if the other DAP doesn't come in time, but we'll have to see. I think Firestarter should probably stop them now, because they're not going to get into that town. The blue side's already in there, so...
Yeah, it seems that he's overextending those quite a bit, and the DAP has found one kill onto the Cassiopeia. Is he going to shoot down the second one? No, he's not. The Mirage coming in to save the day. And wow, the Mirage also got a hit onto the second DAP as well, which might allow the Cassiopeia to shoot it down, but nope, that's going to happen the other way around. And both those Pumas probably going to die to the Hachi Nanashikis, unless the Commando Para can get into the town quick enough, else they're just going to get stunned out in the open, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Those Hachi Nanashikis clearing that up nicely. Over in the middle, we can see that Nandamanai has already managed to get a couple of Shumat squads into on his side compound, and over on the other side, we've got the PVGRP RBS 56s.
Yeah, we've got some rocket artillery coming in. A pretty interesting buy. I'm not sure I like it that much, but obviously Firestarter's probably had some experience using it, and he's maybe likes it on a specific map for the reason he's doing now, hitting all those infantry units in India.
Yeah, and Dirty D's also brought some Hachi Nanashikis. So in the bottom side, between Delta and India, we can see those Hachi Nanashikis coming into play, rushing down the road with the help of the AMX-10 RCSB. That's a really nice choice of unit there. I quite like that unit. I don't see it very often at all.
Well, it's really good for the point. I mean, it's got no armor, but it's so fast and it does so much damage. It's kind of it's like the slightly worse version of the Commonwealth Vickers Mark 11. They both serve the same sort of role for a similar price, and they're both really, really good units. A Deagle coming in there.
Yeah, let's see what that lands its bombs on. Probably going to take out those two Hachi Nanashikis. Yep, definitely going to, and got away with that. I was surprised to see that Dirty D allowed his two Bisons with the Eric's missiles to be taken out. Those squads are very, very valuable and can do a lot of damage, and they have a decent range. So I was surprised to not see him release those early so that they could damage some of those APCs, but now we can see the 3A2 Bradley here, long range sniping the M1A1 HC Abrams, although the Abrams has got in range and is going to take out that Bradley on the top side. What can we see there?
There's quite a bit of action going on, lots of infantry skirmishes. The blue side, looks like Nandemanai has used his Nanashikis up here to push the top. He's got some, probably Songchu, I believe, in those KF V4050s. So it looks like the blue side's getting a nice capture onto this forest at the moment. I don't think the red team, with what they've got, is going to have an easy time retaking that. So we'll have to see if Razman can hold there. He's proven in the past he's managed to hold very difficult situations. So perhaps he'll be able to hold Charlie against these large amounts of infantry.
Yeah, Mirage goes down over India, and it seems that what's happened on the map so far is the blue side has conceded Foxtrot to the red side, and the red side has conceded Golf to the blue side. And so that's how the map's going to play out this time round by the looks of things. And I think, honestly, Foxtrot's going to be a lot more easier to contest for the blue side than it is going to be for the red side to contest Golf, because as soon as these infantry units from Nandemanai get into the forest at the top side of Golf, there's no way that CV is going to be able to hide in there.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty much everything you said, really. Yeah, it's going that way.
We've got
sorry.
The AH-1J is doing work on the APCs and the bomb side of Foxtrot, and like continuing from that point, that is going to open up a nice big space for like a contesting CV from the blue side. So that's really what I was trying to get at. And it seems that Faust is starting to make some ground into this forest as well, slowly chunking away some of Dirty D's Fusiliers there. It's already taken out a few units with the Jaeger and M113 combination as well. So yeah, definitely making some good progress.
I think Dirty D missed a small window of opportunity here, because he had some Hachinanashikis, and by the time he was, this far up into Foxtrot, the enemy only had one Hachinanashiki in basically defending Juliet. I think he could have made a much better use of just skirmishing up there and kind of just being a thorn in the blue team side while he solidified his position a bit more in Foxtrot.
Yeah, I think he was a bit careful about the helicopters that came down. You can see the Black Hawk that landed there from the beginning of the game. It dropped off the Rangers. They haven't actually been moved by Cheer Up just yet. But yeah, I think you're right. There was definitely possibilities at the start of the game to be a little more aggressive with the ground units. But in general, like both teams have spread out massively at the start of this game, trying to cover all flanks. And we'll see if it actually pays off, because so far Faust is just pushing straight through towards Delta with those Jaegers, and if he can get control of this forest above Foxtrot, then that's going to give him a massive zone of control over that sector.
Well, I definitely agree, because not only is it a lot easier to attack Foxtrot, you cut off the reinforcements from Delta, so it's really a win-win if Faust can get troops into there.
Blue side lost its Deagle on the bottom side to a Mirage, so that's a really nice kill there. And that bomber with the 4 1,000 kilogram bombs is no longer going to be a threat. And I believe they probably only have one of them, because it's prototype for Americans, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I think you only get one, and it's definitely only one US deck on the blue side.
So they've lost that. Now this is an interesting matchup. The Eric's squad versus the Jaegers near Delta. Those Eric's missiles can actually be fired at infantry, and those are like a really, really strong unit at the moment. Canadian infantry, 15 points, 60% accuracy. They've got 25 AP power against vehicles and 2 HE power against infantry, and they have a really nice rate of fire. So very, very strong, and you can see both sides actually utilising those units in this game.
Well, why wouldn't you when it's such a brilliant unit? The only downside is the range is quite small, but I think it makes up for it with the fact it's very good as an infantry support weapon as well.
Yeah, Cheer Up now assisting Faust in pushing out this forest. Faust has a K1 moving forwards, whilst that's supported by Cheer Up. And over in the top side, it seems that things are pretty static, although Razman is looking to make a push with his NM135 105s, which are, I think, the Scandinavian APCs with the 20mm autocannons on them. So they can definitely chunk these Hachi Nanashikis at long range. Or short range, sorry.
They can do, but I think at the moment the red team's going to be a bit more worried about this big push coming across into Echo. I don't think they really can afford to get pushed out at the moment, because they are at net a loss of points at the moment because the blue team holds it. So we'll have to see. Those Leopard 1A5 NO2s doing a lot of good work though.
Yeah, but they've been smoked off just now, so they can't get the fire onto those KAFB 4050s, and that Wildcat managing to destroy those APCs at long range with its very accurate autocannon. Those Leopard 1A5s have actually put themselves in a bad position as well, because the Hachi Nanashiki's side shot with the autocannons is very, very strong.
It's definitely nothing to mess with. It's 2 AP with a very good rate of fire is very dangerous to a tank if you hit it in the right place.
I think it's really nice to see this smoke push coming in. Just something I was thinking about was on the Red 4 kind of games, we generally have the Yakuide with the SU-122s coming in, and you don't smoke because you want the SU-122 fire support. Whereas in this case, because they're playing blue, it looks like they're opting for the smoke tactic, where you use the smoke screen to get your infantry closer because you know that your infantry quality is going to be a lot better.
It's like we're reading each other's minds, because I was thinking the exact same thing. It's kind of impressive that they've shown in past games just how good they are at using that Red 4 kind of meta push with the Yakuides, and now they're trying to show that they can do the same with Blue 4. Although Razman, Firestarter, and just Razman and Firestarter, I think, in the middle sector have done a very good job of holding that off.
Yeah, I think they had a really nice composition of forces there with the Leopard 1A5s, and obviously the troops in the town to take care of that. The Fernspar there with the sniper was actually doing quite a lot of damage through the smoke where there was gaps. But in the top side, Razmans seemed to have got behind enemy lines with these NM135s and the Gvanman. But I'm not too sure those are going to last too long, or even really do anything effective in the sector, so maybe that's a lost cause up there.
Well, maybe, but I mean, if they're careful about it, they are, at the end of the day, they're infantry in the woods, so they can pick off these Hachinani Shikis one at a time, and apart from those, there's not really that much in this main forest, in this kind of big sector where the Gavermen are. I think the biggest story is that down in the bottom, Faust has managed to get a CV into Foxtrot, and the pressure's ramping up now. They've got K1s to the edge of the forest, and they're at a +2 lead.
Yeah, I think what we were talking about has happened. It's going to be a lot harder for Red to put a command in Gulf since they conceded it, and it's a lot easier for Blue to put one in Foxtrot, and that's exactly what's happened. They've managed to get that infantry CV in there, although it's in a pretty obvious position at the moment because Dirty D has that recon on the bottom side, and you can see the F-16 coming in there with the cluster munitions. Not going to get the kill onto the command unit because it is not armoured.
Well, the sad thing about that now is that they might not believe that the CV is actually there because they didn't kill anything. So we'll have to see if they decide to go for an actual HE bombing run on that area.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. They might mind game themselves a little and put themselves off doing another strike in the same position. The other thing that might be the case is that they might not have any HE bombers on deck at the moment or in their hand, so they might just not have that to play with, and might not want to sacrifice the points trying to do that at the moment.
Probably not. I'd say that what they could benefit from is maybe some mortar support in the bottom there, because that would give them the ability to try and hit that CV, but also give yourself some cover for the pushes through the forest.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of a fail push in the middle while we were talking as well. Firestarter tried to push up, so I think it was Jaegers with M113s, and a lot of them got killed in the field before they reached the town. You can see there the Eric's missiles out of ammunition because they used all of those to kill off all the APCs and infantry squads. And in general, I think the way that the red team is going to get back into this is by attacking from Charlie and controlling that forest above Hotel and getting like a contesting CV into Golf. And then also maybe getting a contesting CV into Echo as well. They do have the Centurion actually just coming up now.
Yeah, it's I don't think I've ever seen the Centurion command tank in any game I've ever played. I do not remember that. But you know what? It's got decent armor for what it is. It's 130 points, so why not use it in this situation?
I like to see the red side taking back this forest just above Foxtrot. I think that's a really good idea. It's definitely going to make it a lot easier for them to push out this command in Foxtrot once they figure out where it is. But I am still surprised not to see like another strike in the same location, just because they were so sure that it wasn't anywhere else, since they had units all along the bottom side of Foxtrot here. And you can see this like Saxon moving along that would have spotted it, and also they had the Hachi Nanashiki there.
Yeah. I mean, they did that, like Firestarter actually is they've pinged slightly below those Ferns grouper. So yeah, they have mind gave themselves a bit. I think they think the CV is somewhere it isn't, which is a pain.
Yeah, possibly they think it's in this compound where they're trying to fire at now. But those HE rockets are just missing the mark at the moment, although that one was on target. One took it down to 2 health.
That was an accidental near CV kill then. That would have been really lucky. I think going back to what you were saying before about pushing into the forest hotel, it is a good idea, although I think it does have risk, because the spawn point is so close that the red team has to be really careful, because if you overextend, the enemy can just bring so many troops at such a short notice to Charlie that you just have to be very careful. Like this forest is just full of Sesongju right now. Or Sesongsu, should I say.
Yeah,
Sesongsu.
I don't know. I really like the top side of this map. I play it a lot. Like, I always prefer to play that side of the map. And what I would generally do is, if I manage to get a foothold in that forest early on, you can line up tanks on the edge of this cliff, and they'll stay invisible. And like when they fire, obviously they become visible. But when they're not firing, they are invisible. And this is a really strong point to have, like the K1s and the strong sort of NATO armor that we have at the moment.
Definitely, and if you know, a tip as well, if you're playing Red 4, the RDM3s usually don't reveal themselves when they fire from cover a lot of the time, so they're another good unit just to put on that ridge line. But enough of Red 4, because this is Blue v Blue. Yeah, it's a slight edge for the blue team because they've contested Foxtrot.
Yeah, the blue side is definitely making ground in Foxtrot now, and it's quite scary to see, because if the red side don't get this under control, this is pretty much a lost game for them. They're already 219 points to 9 behind, and that's a bad place to be at this point. Obviously, we've got 23 minutes left on the clock, but Faust is doing a great job of keeping the pressure on in Foxtrot. And it looks like the Furungs group are moving a little bit. Okay, they managed to stop again. I'm not quite sure why they got moved.
Yeah, it's a very nice, lucky Cobras come in here, because if they hadn't, they'd have gone all the way to the CV there. The red team is putting up a pretty relentless attack to try and retake Foxtrot. Lots and lots of units coming in.
Yeah, they definitely need to put the focus on it, and that's what they've done. This is what they need to do in order to get control back in this game. The F-16 also went down whilst we were talking, but like, Faust needs to be kind of careful that this command doesn't get spotted, because as soon as it does, one shot and it's dead. Those Panzer Bills were very close, but like you said before, the Cobra did manage to stop that from happening. And look at the map on the top side, it's like a shield of Sechongsu. That's just insane.
I think Nandemanai needs to go and see someone about his Sechongsu problem, because he has so many. Did he? I wonder if he took 2 cards of those, or actually he took them just trained, I think, didn't he? So that's probably why he has so many.
Well, yeah, he probably took 2 cards and has them trained to have that many. Oh, wonderful Harrier GR7 strike there. Took out 2 Krotals and almost took out a Leopard 1A5 as well. Somebody knows how to use the guided bomb trick there. Managed to fire off the guided bombs at 2 targets, which is very awesome to see. That takes a very good skill at micro in order to do that.
Well, you know, considering how the high ranks of these players in this game. I mean, you've got Fausti, I believe, is Field Marshal. That's the #1 rank, and everyone else in both these teams aren't slacking either. What they got? Brigadier General, 2 Lieutenant Generals, and a Major General and a Lieutenant Colonel. So these guys really are some of the top players in Wargame at the moment, and they're putting on quite a show for us as well.
Yeah, these Eric squads are defending the command unit to the death in Foxtrot at the moment, and they almost actually got the command unit killed. It's most definitely going to go down now as the Marder 1 and the Wildcat do approach. Over in the forest as well, we can see the overwhelming amounts of infantry from the red side are pushing out the Jaegers, and now we have the KF 4050s and the Shitongsu coming in to back that up. Now, if the red side wanted to push in the top, I don't think that's going to happen, although it is interesting to see how many points Nandemonai has invested in that top side, and they haven't really got much out of it. But either way, with the red side taking back Foxtrot, that does mean that the conquest points are now even.
The blue team has to be really careful here, because a lot of these units that have been sent, like the Wildcats and the NM135s, they're not actually that expensive units. So if the red team loses them, it doesn't mean it's game over. Oh, the Harrow GR7 going down there, unfortunately. But if that just means that these units are a bit more expendable. They can afford just to send them into Juliet and try and kill that CV, I think.
I just love this this stunning rocket artillery onto the small squad and the Rangers there. Even the rocket artillery even got the kill onto the small squad. And that's just opened up a huge gap into Juliet for the red side. And if they had a CV up already, they could have really just stuck that in straight away once they killed this Ranger squad and turn a +2 lead for themselves.
I think that's what they need to do right now. They need to, even if they do end up losing the CV, I think they need to just get some points in their back pocket, just so that they can, they can try and catch up, because they are so far behind. They do have to be slightly careful though, because there are a lot of blue forces in India, and if they overextend to this bottom side towards Juliet, the blue forces could go and just try and attack Delta.
Yeah, you can see that in that sector actually at India, they do have a Patriot, and that's going to cause it to be very hard for the red side to use any airstrikes, and we do see some SK-60Bs coming in on the bottom side of the map at the moment from Razman. They're probably going to be coming in to try and attack these Kaimarashikis. Very, very strong tanks. I think the most expensive in the game, or one of the most expensive in the game for the blue side at least. Yeah, they're going to be targeted by these SK-60Bs and almost taken out there, but both the SK-60Bs going down.
Almost taken out, but at least they got stunned, so they're going to be slightly less effective, but still very, very strong. There is a lot of heavy tanks from the blue side here. An M1A2, 2 M1A1HCs, and 2 Kaimarashikis. They really haven't skimped on the tanks down here.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that Nandemonai actually retreated after that. Surely if you see both of the ASM planes go down, then surely you have more of a reason to push, because they're going to be destroyed. Maybe he's just waiting for the APC support of the Hachi Nanashikis and maybe some infantry as well, before he's more sure of pushing.
Maybe. A bit of a shame someone unfortunately mismarked a CV, because a red side CV went down on the road from Delta to India. There's some attack markers there. A Centurion just got taken out by some riflemen 90s.
Oh, well, that was not good. It's probably because on this map, the reinforcements are quite dodgy sometimes. Like, they come in and they will just drive through the middle of the map or somewhere quite dangerous if you don't micro them properly from the reinforcement point. That is actually quite a big problem with this map in general.
It really is. I mean, obviously they probably wanted it to go down through Foxtrot, but this is what happened, unfortunately, when you have so much to worry about up on the front and microing all these units. You forget about some of the more simple things, like making sure that your units come into the right side of a sector.
Yeah, the Black Hawk being used there to scout out what is in that compound, and of course did go down. These Leopard 2A1s trying to put up a fight against the M1 IP Abrams, and it looks like the Leopard's going to take out one of them, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it go down to the second.
I think we'll find out. It looks like the Myth Abrams will do the damage, but Actually, yeah, if they don't, then it looks like this Piv Grip RBS 56 will do.
Leopard 2A4 there, taking a hit from the CEV, but the CEV going down in return. There's still, I think, 2 Kaiomarishikis on the field, maybe 3. So yeah, Nandamanai's fixing up the one that got low from the SK-60B strike. So these tanks aren't going to be too effective if they do start to push, but what I would like to see is some reinforcing infantry and a CV. We do have Firestarter bringing in the Panther with the command infantry to secure a place in Juliet and contest that sector. Also rocket artillery coming into Kilo, and that's incredibly close to the TACOM squad in that sector. That's some blind... Is that some blind arty, or is it that because the Fernspear can actually see them?
The Fernspear, I think.
Well, I think maybe it's blind arty, but they're firing there because the Fernspear are actually showing that there isn't anything in the top side of Kilo.
It may be. I mean, Dirty D put some markers on other places, so maybe they're just going to try. I mean, it looks like they've actually tried to shell other parts of the sector as well, just near the right-hand side of Kilo. There's some shell marks there as well.
Check out the top side of the map. These are Chongsu running out of the forest and charging towards Charlie. There is only 2 squads of Govanman, SCRV 103D, and a couple of IKVs actually defending that at the moment against a swarm of infantry. And if those infantry do get into Charlie, then there is going to be some problems. You can see the Harrier GR7 there. Again, trying to use a double bombing strike. Faust with the superior micro. Unfortunately, the GR7 did go down and miss both its targets, but really nice to see that tactic being used.
Now, well, these Song 2, they were sitting there for so long, but Nandamanai's finally found a use for them. These Cobras, however, have come in, and there's not really any anti-air support there, so Nandamanai has to be really careful, because if they get caught out in the open, those AH-1Js will just destroy them.
Yeah, the command unit from Firestarter is making its way into Juliet now, so we are going to see that being contested. Dirty D getting these Hanananishikis around the bottom side, but they have been spotted. So it looks like the M1A1 Abrams and the M3A2 Bradley are going to clear those out. The Fuchs as well, they're probably going to go down. But in the middle, look at that. It's pretty undefended at the moment. Razman only with an FSK squad and a couple of Mistral squads there defending the Centurion from being ran over in that sector. In the top side, at Charlie, we have seen the Sechongsu been mostly killed. AH-1J has come in there and obviously used all its rocket pods to wipe out those squads in the open. So good job there defending that from the red side.
Well, it just goes to show, because I think that play to an extent was slightly desperate in a way, and I don't understand why, because the blue team are still in the lead here. I mean, they are having a hard time down in Juliet, but they're still technically in the lead. And yet they sent all those Sechongsu over without any anti-air support, which really just killed that push before it even happened, really, I think.
Well, at the same time, it's put a lot of pressure on. They haven't exactly left themselves undefended. It's going to take a lot of time for the red side to push from Charlie to Golf, for example. So they have plenty of time to bring in reinforcements, as you can see by the fact they already have 2 Nanoyon Shiki Gs there. And overall, if he hadn't have done that, then those Sechongsu probably would have sat there for the rest of the game not really doing very much. So at least he's actually used the units he had rather than leaving them just idle for the most of the game. But you can see in Juliet, Firestarter's CV did get bombed out, so they didn't even manage to contest it for very long. Managed to get themselves another few points, but not enough at all.
Not enough, and there's just some, like, an overwhelming force of infantry has come in here. And the red team just doesn't have enough here. That STRV 121 as well. Nearly got taken out by a Bradley recon there. Luckily, a PVGRP RBS 56 from Razman just defended it before it got taken out. So nice rocket arty though. That's really landing where it needs to.
Yeah, that rocket artillery was something special. That was just awesome. The RBS is going to take out the STRV 121 though. But yeah, the rocket artillery, it's panicked all of that infantry and actually took out quite a few units. And that is going to leave this Leclerc and the Bradley to clean up a lot of this stuff, but they still need to be careful about the Kayu Marushiki. It does have a shot onto the Leclerc, I think, any second. In the middle, we are seeing an attack coming in. The K200s are rushing the town now, and I do not think this FSK is going to be able to hold.
I don't think so either. I think they only have, what, 2 Wildcats, a Lux. I don't think they'll be able to hold that.
As soon as these K200s get to the compound and drop out their infantry, that's just going to give Nandim and I a complete hold over Echo and make it incredibly hard for this Centurion to continue to sit in the edge of that sector. The Sechongsu, they're going to take over completely. In the bottom side, it looks like they cleared out the most of the flanking forces from Dirty D. I believe it was a Cobra Recon, managed to spot out most of those units, although the Fernspar still very close at the top side of Kilo. Maybe another command snipe coming in there from rocket artillery might be ideal.
I think the red team is wishing they had a US player so they could bring in Atacams in, because... Actually, I say that, but that wouldn't actually kill the TACOM, would it? But it's still much more accurate over that sort of range compared to the really inaccurate French LRMs.
Well, the easiest way to do that would just be to get maybe one of those SK-60Bs, because you have 3 of them and they've only lost 2, and just like fly it around the bottom side of the map and bring it in to attack that, because there's not really much AI physically defending that. Now the Centurion has been spotted out in Echo since it started firing on the Sechongsu that took over the compound, and that has given away its position, so I don't think that's going to really last too much longer. We might see an airstrike coming in. Yeah, the Hornet there using its ASM missiles to take out that tank, and Echo is fully under the control of the blue side, sorry.
The blue team. Razman's put a CV into Juliet. I'm not sure how useful that's going to be. That's going to last for just a few seconds. But, interesting. Bit desperate, I think, but at this sort of time in the game, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah, the Hachi Nanashiki spotted that pretty quickly as it was coming down the road. 2 volleys of rocket artillery came in and nearly took out the TACOM squad, and the Fernspar, Hero Fernspar, going to finish off that in Kilo. Now we got the UH-1H also going to go down to the Fernspar, so a second command unit destroyed, although Faust already landing a Lynx there with a 3rd command infantry unit to capture Kilo, making sure that they don't lose their air sector. That was very, very proactive play there from the blue side to make sure that they had a spare CV.
You know, you hear about putting a second CV at home, but they had 3 CVs, or at least 1 there and then 2 on the way, so interesting.
That was just such a good response, especially after like the rocket artillery come in. They obviously knew that the red side had found where the command unit was, so they proactively brought in 2 more infantry CVs. Just shows how many points they're working with as well, though.
Yeah, it does. I think that the blue team, or ANS just in specific, has been a team this tournament that's made really good use of their units for the points they spent on them. They just tend to use things very efficiently. You don't see them pushing with a lot more than they need, I think. And likewise, they generally don't defend with more than they need.
Yeah, the conquest points still even at the moment because Dirty D managed to get an Iltis Kado into Echo again. Some bombers coming in though, landing some nice 1,000 kilogram bombs onto all that infantry. Not quite sure what the cluster munitions there were trying to achieve. Took out a couple of APCs but not too much more. But these F-16A Fighting Falcons, beautiful aircraft, lovely camo painted onto them. Well, did they even drop their bombs? There was like 2 that flew in, but they just sort of flew out and didn't drop anything.
I'm not entirely sure. Although, remember we just talked about Kilo and the proactive blue player bringing in another CV? They brought in another CV.
Yeah, they brought in the Abrams now after the command infantry just got taken out by the rocket battery. So, yeah, very nice proactive play by Faust. They obviously knew that was going to be coming. It's actually Cheer Up brought in the M1 Abrams there, so good job. Faust is moving around the Erics in the bottom side of Juliet, that forest there, slowly flanking towards Foxtrot again. But the +1 lead coming out, and that looks like it is going to be surrender vote from the red side, as they don't see a way back into the game. So, wonderful victory there by ANZ after 33 minutes and 21 seconds.
Well, again, we're seeing that the points, the kills and losses are really close. This is, for an 8,144 kill game, that's incredibly close. That's just 200 points between the two teams.
Definitely something to point out for sure. It basically comes down to the strategic outplay then, in general. Less of what sort of units were used throughout the game. It seems that the blue side managed to get a lot more value for money out of their units than the red side did. If the kills and deaths were so close, that would only, well, be the only reason the disparity in conquest points was so different.
Yeah, the blue team and Anne's just really playing well. You know, they that escapade with the CVs at the end, like they just knew exactly what their opponents were going to do. Really smart play. Really impressive to kind of read the situation so well, and they've done that all tournament. This is why, you know, I'm going to personally back. I'm going to say that And is going to win the whole tournament, but we'll have to see if that happens.
Wow, those predictions right there.
Those predictions, yeah.
So yeah, awesome game. I think possibly there wasn't really a standout player in this game. I don't think. It seemed that, like, on both sides, everyone was making their own moves. I really like the way that both teams spread out a lot at the beginning of the game and sort of covered all angles. It's just that I found it strange that the red side didn't contest golf at the top of the map. They didn't get enough of a presence in that forest, and they didn't focus on it much at all, when I think that is possibly one of the easiest ways to win on that map.
I think so, but not only that, they didn't really put anything into Echo in the middle. You know, they couldn't resist that push at the end. They just had like one unit of FSK and some Mistrals. So I think they might have tunnel visioned on the bottom play, because they thought they'd gotten a nice advantage, but at the end of the day, the blue team really came back in and pushed them out of Juliet. So
yeah, that's exactly it. Most of this game was won off a +1 lead. And I think that's all there is to say, really. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next game of the best of 3. Goodbye.
Bye.